Call the meeting to order, please. If you would, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag led by Marine Corps veteran Dale Simchak.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dale. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the orders of the day. Are here any changes that need to be made?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'd like to move consent A2 to the action agenda, please.
Consent which?
A2, the minutes from our last business meeting.
Consent A to action.
A2, yes, sir.
Yes, and I'd like B20.
What, B20?
B20.
Mr. Chair, I'd also ask permission to add consent item K.
Okay. Okay, so we've got, we want to add consent A to the action, consent B20 to the action, and add action K.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, it's consent A2. It's not the minutes from
A2.
the workshop, it's the minutes from the business meeting.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion.
One more correction, Mr. Chair. It's consent K. It's printed as action K on your notes, but it's consent item K. It's Sebastian River High School's crew team has qualified for a national competition.
That's consent, so here, action.
That's a consent K.
Consent.
Yes, sir.
You're just adding that to the consent agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we have the consent A2 and consent B20 moved over to the action agenda. Okay? Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 5-0. Okay, second item of business, be presentations, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have several presentations to make, and we are going to hear from some of our students perform. We're going to have some music performed by the Beachland Elementary group. Mr. Bruce Green is going to be our MC for these presentations. So, Mr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Rendell. Good evening, Board. Our first presentation is recognition of the Shell Science Lab Challenge Award. The annual National Science Teachers Association's Shell Science Lab Challenge competition for middle and high school science teachers is sponsored by the Shell Oil Company. The competition encouraged teachers in grades 6 through 12 who have found innovative ways to deliver quality lab experiments with limited school and laboratory resources to share their approaches with others. Ms. Melissa Sleeper is one of the 18 district winners nationwide that has been named a winner of that award. As a district winner, each teacher and their school will receive a $3,000 lab prize package that includes a $1,000 Shell grant to purchase lab equipment and other science education resources, $1,000 in donated science lab equipment donated by Carolina Biological Supply Company, a $300 gift certificate to the NSTA, or National Science Teachers Association Science Store, a 1-year membership to the NSTA for 2 teachers, and an NSTA Learning Center subscription for 2 teachers, and paid registration to attend the 2017 NSTA Area Conference on Science Education. So at this time, I would like to call up Miss Melissa Sleeper, and I believe her principal, Miss Decker, is here.
First, I want to thank my principal for always supporting my wild schemes and supporting me to apply for a lot of the things I apply for. And the second thing I'd like to say is since I have joined the school district, I am very impressed with the increase in the interest of science. in our school district over the past couple of years, there's no doubt that science, and therefore science education, is central to the lives of all Americans. Never before has our world been so complex and science knowledge so critical to making sense of everything. When comprehending current events, choosing and using technology, or making informed decisions about one's health care, science understanding is key. Science is also at the heart of the United States' ability to continue to innovate and lead and create the jobs of the future. If students, all students, whether they become technicians in a hospital, workers in a high-tech manufacturing facility, or PhD researchers, must have a solid K through 12 science education. So I encourage you to continue to support science in our schools. And I would like to share with you some handouts that you can look at later about the next generation science standards. We are in a gap year for science in our state, and we are not currently looking at adopting the next generation science standards. But I would encourage you to at least look at the materials that I have bought. I think it will put our students at a disadvantage to the rest of the country if we are not teaching them with three-dimensional teaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a special plaque for you this morning. It's not like $5,000 or anything.
Paparazzi.
Board, our next recognition is for the Sunshine State Scholar nominee. The Sunshine State Scholar Program was founded in 1997 by Dr. William Caldwell of the University of North Florida. In 2010, the Florida Education Foundation changed the focus of the Scholar Program to retain intellectual talent here in the Sunshine State. Since this modification to the program, approximately 60% of the scholars have remained in Florida and attend Florida colleges and universities. The foundation asked each Florida school district to identify their top 11th grade student in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In addition to bringing together the scholars to be honored, the foundation invites representatives from the Florida's college and universities to meet with the students and discuss career and post-secondary opportunities available to them in Florida. The minimum selection criteria used for selecting the district's Sunshine State Scholar include the following. The student has achieved junior class status and has an interest in pursuing post-secondary education opportunities here in Florida. The student has expressed or demonstrated an interest in STEM-related studies. The student has a weighted grade point average of 3.9 or higher. And based upon information available at the time, the student should be on track to qualify for the Florida Academic Scholars Award, according to the current guidelines established for the Florida Bright Future Scholarship Program. The 2017 Sunshine State Scholar for the School District of Indian River County is Caitlin Wall, a junior at Sebastian River High School. I believe Caitlin is here, and her principal, I think I saw Mr. Racine. Would you like to come up, Principal, Sebastian River High School?
I would like to thank the school board for recognizing me, and I look forward to representing our county at the awards ceremony in Orlando.
We're going to have more pictures.
Thank you, Board. Our next recognition is a book donation by the Vero Beach Rotary Sunshine. So during the month of April, the Vero Beach Sunshine Rotarians visited 12 classrooms in 6 different elementary schools to give each pre-K student a book to keep. They gave out 192 books total, including 2 books for each teacher. Vero Beach Sunshine Rotary is committed to our youth, seniors, and the environment as evidenced by their generous and meaningful gift of books to our pre-K students. And this evening we have some members. I'll ask them to come up, and I believe we have the current president, Kevin Anderson, here. If you would come on up.
You should come over too, Mark.
Absolutely. A member of the...
I'm going to yield to the, our chairperson of the program, but we support the children in the county. We support many programs with the county. This is just one of the educational programs that we sponsor. We sponsor scholarships, computers we give out, but I'm going to let Pam tell you more about what we do.
Hi, I'm Pam O'Donnell, and I'm with the Sunrise Rotary Club Vero Beach, and I'm the literacy chair. And I'm so happy to have Mark Rendell now part of my literacy committee. Thank you, Mark. And each year, we at Sunrise Rotary sponsor a pre-K book donation, and we go out to each of the public pre-K classes and read to the children and provide books for each of the students. And it's our sincere pleasure to do that every single year, and we're going to do it next year again. And I work closely with Brooke Flood, if any of you know her, and she's been great. So thank you guys, really appreciate this recognition. Musical performance.
We're going to flip the agenda a little bit because our musical rendition always goes last. We always like to end to that. So we do have one other recognition that we're going to do first, and that is the recognition of our Institute for Coaching Excellence, or ICE. And to tell you a little bit more about it, we're going to have two of our district literacy specialists, Lori Young and Tabby Johnston. If you would come up and just tell them a little bit more about it, and then we're going to watch a short video about ICE, and they'll call the participants up.
Good evening. In 2015, the School District of Indian River County launched a new initiative to increase instructional coaches in the county. The core design team, comprised of Deb Berg, Director of Elementary Education, Tabby Johnston, District Literacy Specialist, Michelle Benak, Glendale Elementary Assistant Principal, Brenda Akers, Osceola Magnet Literacy Coach, and myself, District Literacy Specialist, are excited to recognize 20 new ICE certified instructional coaches. ICE is a year-long professional development that educates interested individuals in the proper techniques to help coach teachers to become the best that they can be. An instructional coach is a full or part-time professional developer who works on-site in schools with teachers to help them incorporate research-based instructional practices in the support of student learning. This group of outstanding educators are classroom teachers who may or may not have the official title of instructional coach. They are department chairs, grade level chairs, mentor teachers, and peer teachers. These individuals are now equipped with the skills to support all teachers in our district. At this time, we would like to recognize the 2017 ICE graduates.
We have a short video? Yeah, let's do the video first. Let's do the video first to introduce them.
ICE is the Institute for Coaching Excellence, and we are now completing our second training session. It's a year-long training for teacher leaders in the district who have submitted an application. And through this training, they learn how to become more effective listeners. They learn how to question teachers to become more reflective in their practice and help teachers to improve their practice in the classroom. The coaches, the people that are going through this training, are providing specific feedback so that we can improve instruction and therefore make a positive impact on students in Indian River County.
ICE has impacted me personally by becoming a better listener, and by becoming a better listener, there's been doors opened up, relationships formed with other teachers, and I find that the more I listen, the more they want to talk and ask for help. It's made me realize that everything I see in other teachers' classrooms, I bring right back to my classroom, and my students have learned more because I've learned more.
I think the aha moment for me during ICE was just the collaboration of our peers, being able to learn from one another, because two heads are always better than one, and we're constantly learning and coming from different backgrounds, coming from different school cultures, and that way that we can collaborate together. So the collaboration was the real key.
I think so many of us always saw coaching as something maybe more negative than positive. A coach comes into your room because you did something wrong. I think now, and I wish it was more apparent to all teachers, that coaches are there to help all teachers go from good to great, from great to fabulous. We all have room to grow, and it's sometimes very difficult as a teacher to see where you need to maybe tweak here or there, and we all need to tweak here and there.
When we collaborate like puzzle pieces, we come together, we don't just impact ourselves, but we impact hundreds of students and hundreds of teachers. Together, we can make lots of things happen, not just for me and my class, but everybody's class, for lots of students.
ICE has actually made me a better leader in my department, and it's also made me a better teacher because I get to see how other teachers are doing things. I get to collaborate with my ICE partners, and we talk about how we're coaching each other and how we're coaching our people that we're doing our project with.
I think coaching is going to impact students in a great way, because if we are able to rely on each other as educators and help each other be able to improve whatever it is we're trying to improve in our classrooms, then the students are going to gain from that. they're going to gain all the information that they need in order to be successful within school and also life.
All right, so are our ICE participants ready to come up? Okay, so Latoya Bullard, Sebastian River Middle School. Okay. Jessica Cantlin, Dodgertown Elementary. Jamie Coleman, Osceola Magnet School. Will Dalby, Liberty Magnet School. We want you to come back up, guys. Come on back up. We got to get a picture at the end. Nancy Demeter, Gifford Middle School. Sue Fredrickson, Vero Beach Elementary. Jennifer Freeland, Treasure Coast Elementary. Michelle Gooden, Liberty Magnet School. Jennifer Keeler, Fellsmere Elementary. Sharon Keeley, Vero Beach Elementary. John Martin, Vero Beach High School. Stacy Miller, Dodgertown Elementary. Shayna Nathaniel, Storm Grove Middle School. Kelly Potter, Vero Beach High School. Kim Rahal, Osceola Magnet School. Jennifer Riddick, Vero Beach Elementary. Casey Birchtold, Sebastian River Middle School. Valerie Guerra, Citrus Elementary School. Christine Sturgeon, Liberty Magnet School. Joanne Wallishauser, Pelican Island. And we'd also like to call up our other parts, Michelle and Brenda, because we couldn't do it without it being a team.
Okay, and our last presentation is our musical performance by Beachland Elementary School, and I believe one of the enticements for volunteering to go first at the beginning of this year was we would let them come back and present later in the year, and they are here to do that. So I'm going to introduce Ms. Reiser, the music teacher at Beachland Elementary School.
Good evening. This is part of the Little Shark Singers. They are second and third graders. They meet on Tuesday mornings at 8:15, and this is their weather play. They've performed this play at the Senior Resource Center. They've performed this play for their parents. So we did abbreviate. We didn't want to, but we did abbreviate and make it much shorter for tonight. We do have just 3 lines to start us out. So if you're giving one of those lines, come out to the front. And big and loud.
Yes, so I just want to say on behalf of the school board, thank you for coming back a second time. For those of you that don't know, Ms. Reiser has been teaching music for 41 years. And I did ask for permission. This will be her last year. She is going to retire and start doing some special things for herself. But for her dedication to our students, we thank you. And Sharks, give the Sharks another big round of applause, please. Thank you, Sharks. So speaking of sharks, you may have seen the TV show Shark Tank. Well, at Vero Beach High School, in one of their business classes, students got to participate in a mock Shark Tank scenario with some local business owners. And we have a short video to share with you about that happening at Vero Beach High School.
So today we bring Shark Tank into the classroom. So loosely based off of the TV show Shark Tank, our students have been preparing all year long new business ideas or concepts. And they have researched and prepared and pulled together some facts, figures, and numbers, and they are today now presenting them live in front of a panel of sharks who are local business owners in our community. These people I've reached out to, and they've given up their time to come in and help offer some input and feedback for the students, to listen to their ideas, to ask them some challenging questions, and then to let them know if they would be interested in making a hypothetical offer on investing in their business. Well, first off, they get to hear some of these life business lessons from somebody other than myself. After a while, they kind of get sick of hearing me say it. So it's a bit of a reinforcement to hear some successful business owners be able to share their experience and reinforce some of the classroom lessons that we're learning. And also, it puts them on the hot seat and it holds them accountable, and they have to get up and go out of their comfort zone and present to a group of strangers and answer some questions. So it's just a real kind of life lesson in the classroom.
It's like a lot of work to get up there. It's pretty scary. So I'm so proud of all of the students for coming up with these ideas and getting up there in front of us and answering these questions. And you know, I think it's a win-win for all of us because we get connected back to the students and see what they're coming up with, and they get some business insight from us. My biggest piece of advice to most people, whether it's in business or in personal life, is if you have an idea, if you have something that you're really passionate about, you want to come up with, don't wait to take that leap to actually do it. Like, you're going to be scared, you're going to be afraid. Just go out and do it afraid. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
That concludes the presentations, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. At this time, the next item on the agenda is citizen input. The first speaker is Liz Cannon.
Good evening. At your last business meeting, some things were said about how teachers should go about communicating with the school board members. While I understand there are certain issues that you do not control directly, every policy, bylaw, and rule must come through this board. Teachers come to me all the time with issues that are beyond the control of bargaining, or many may have been bargained, but an individual teacher disagrees with what the team chose to do. I often encourage our teachers to communicate with all of you about the issues that they feel are most important to them. To have a school board member essentially dismiss communications from teachers, saying they must go through the chain of command, is disappointing to say the least. You are our elected officials. Teachers, who most often are also taxpayers and voters, have not only the right, but the responsibility to share their thoughts with their elected leaders. I will continue to encourage our teachers to share their thoughts with all of you, as is their right. It is good that not all of you feel this way. Whether you agree or disagree with them, they should not be dismissed or disregarded. Additionally, another board member took to social media recently. I can only say that it more than saddened me to have one of our elected officials berate and demean our educators in such a public forum, but it truly angered me. First, over 2/3 of the teachers in Indian River County are members of the union. So when one of our elected officials refers to us as thugs and usurpers, I have to say I was quite taken aback. There was some backtracking, but this did not help. You see, as a part-time release president, the hardworking members of IRCEA pay for half of my salary. Does this mean that I am the only thug and usurper in Indian River County? But the worst of it was not the petty name-calling, an action unbecoming to an elected official. The worst was the cheering on of legislation designed to cripple our public schools. A bogus bonus program designed to reward people for a test taken in high school that will neither recruit nor retain teachers. A testing scheme touting fewer, better tests that reduces tests by 1 and nothing made better. A student recess bill that doesn't tell us where to find that additional time to allow the children to play. Parental choice programs that have not demonstrated effect on improving education, but are statistically more likely to segregate our students. Funding allocations with unequal accountability. This is what you should apologize for, not just to me, but to the 735 members of IRCEA, to the 293 members of CWA, and to the 140,000 members of FEA, and to the more than 2 million public school children that we, the union, fight for every single day. So please, by all means, continue to call your educators names. It only makes us stronger. Because as Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. I and every other union member in Indian River County will continue to fight for public education because this is what the foundation of our union is. My name is Liz Cannon and I am the union.
Thank you, Ms. Cannon. Next speaker is Diane Parentella.
Good evening, board members. I'm here to talk with you about the changes being made to the student support specialist position. I attended the meetings in early 2016 when the professional technical salary changes were presented and approved. At that time, there were quite a few student support specialists in attendance as well. I can tell you that tonight you probably don't see any student support specialists in attendance, and here is why. They are afraid to speak out now because they are having to reapply for the new position of behavior intervention specialist. As you know, the pro-tech positions are non-bargaining, and there is a real fear that if a student support specialist speaks up about concerns they have with the change to their position, they will not just see a significant pay cut, but will also be out of a job. While I appreciate the attempt at restoring the student support specialists to all schools, I have concerns about the changes being made to their job description. Why call it a behavior intervention specialist when all the behavior qualification pieces have been removed? One of the performance responsibilities of the behavior intervention specialist is to conduct functional behavior assessments, develop behavior intervention plans, and support the implementation of the plans in the classroom. Will the district be providing training to the behavior intervention specialists on how to conduct functional behavior assessments? It is my understanding that 6 of the current student support specialists are board-certified behavior analysts. I believe there are 4 more who are board-certified assistant behavior analysts. These people spend a lot of their time and money to get certification and should be rewarded for doing so. Was there consideration given to keeping the market-based supplements in place for those employees who hold their certification, and the possibility that those market-based supplements would be given to those employees who earn their certification? That would give employees an incentive to work towards getting certified. I think we all can agree that there are behavior issues that need to be addressed in our schools. Is removing the behavior qualifications from a behavior intervention specialist going to achieve improvements in overall student behavior? The other concern I have is the change in who the behavior intervention specialist reports to. Current student support specialists report to the Executive Director of Student Services and ESE. Changing that to reporting to a principal could create problems when there is a disagreement in how best to serve students. Student support specialists bring a different perspective to problem solving, and having them report to the site-based administrator could create issues when making decisions for how to handle difficult behavior situations. Student support specialists must feel like they have been on a roller coaster ride for the past couple of years. Please consider the impact that the elimination of their position will have on our schools and on the employees themselves. After all, wasn't the District Employee of the Year a student support specialist?
Thank you, Ms. Parentella. The next speaker, Emily Handley.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Rendell. My name is Emily Hanley, and I am here today to give input about the restructuring of the job description of student support specialist and converting it to a behavior intervention specialist. This item is contained within Consent Agenda B. The redefining of this job description also removes a key requirement that the individuals holding this position be at a minimum board-certified assistant behavior analysts or board-certified behavior analysts, or have a master's degree and be working toward obtaining certification as a BCBA or a BCABA. With the proposed change, anyone with a bachelor's degree in a human service field will be able to fill this position. The way I understand it, this also will lead to a pay cut for some of the most seasoned professionals working with our students. Please realize that these professionals do not work for the school district because of the money. They could make 2 to 3 times the amount they are paid working in the private sector. I know that all of you may not be familiar with the term BCBA. What is a BCBA? To qualify to sit for the BCBA examination, a person must have a master's degree in a human service field, like behavior analysis, psychology, exceptional student education, etc. They must have specific coursework in the field on behavior analysis and pass a standard examination. The services they are licensed to provide, applied behavior analysis therapy, are the only behavioral therapy treatments typically paid for by private insurance in the treatment of autism. Why does removing this requirement matter to me? I am a mother of an awesome 6-year-old who is a first grade student at Glendale Elementary, and he happens to have autism. Our journey through the ESE department in the Indian River County began when he was about 3 and a half, and it has not been a smooth ride. He began kindergarten at Glendale after assurances from district staff that they would be capable of supporting him and providing him a free and appropriate public education under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. The staff there is generally great, however, they have 0 training in dealing with autistic children. In my son's 2 years there, he has been subject to unjustified suspension threats by the former assistant principal, emotional abuse by an aide that was improperly supervised, and being belittled and yelled at by an ESE teacher. In each of these instances, it was student support, either school or district level, that were all BCBAs that helped us find a solution to the challenge we were facing. 1 in 45 children now are thought to be on the autism spectrum. In Indian River County, that means over 400 students. Please, please do not approve this change without fully understanding what it means for our kids, especially kids like my Andrew. It means that their only lifeline to someone who understands how their brains work could be taken away. There's so much more I could say, but I know I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hanley. The next order of business would be the approval of the consent agenda, I believe.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Check. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0.
Mr. Chair, if I might, with your approval of the consent agenda, you have approved the appointment of one of our current principals to a position at the district office, so I'd like to highlight that for just a minute if I could.
Okay.
So you just appointed Kelly Baysura to the position of Executive Director of Elementary Programs. I'd like to have Kelly come up to the podium for just a second. Kelly is a very well-respected, highly regarded principal here in the district. She has led, most recently or currently is leading Treasure Coast Elementary and doing a fantastic job. We created the position of Executive Director of Elementary Programs last week, or 2 weeks ago, and we were very fortunate that Kelly applied for the job and she was selected. So with your approval, she, starting July 1st, will be the new Executive Director of Elementary Programs. Congratulations, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rendell, and thank you, school board members. I think we have an amazing county, and I'm humbled and proud to be serving our students, our families, and our teachers. So thank you again very much. Thanks.
Congratulations, Principal of the Year.
Congratulations.
The next item of business will be, we moved a couple of items, consent K, that's the one we just handled, is that correct?
Consent K you approved already, which is the field trip, or the
Okay.
trip of the rowing team to.
Ask anything about that or discuss it?
Just that congratulations to Sebastian River High School rowing team for qualifying for nationals, and good luck.
Good luck.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that to approve that?
You're already good.
Already good, okay, good. Then we move consent A2 to action.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a correction to the minutes from the business meeting, the last business meeting. 2 areas, the minutes of the, under discussion C, the media report on Taxpayers Association on my behalf were incorrect. I'd like to read that into I'd like to read that. I have this also for you to look at so you can take a look. And then also school board member matters. I'd like to have corrected on my behalf as well. So if Ms. Simchuk, if you'd like to pass that down, and I'll read this into the record now if that's appropriate, Ms. D'Agresta. I've spoken with Ms. D'Agresta about that. Is that necessary, or? Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Ms. D'Agresta if she could maybe speak to what I need to do now as far as, I've never done this before, so.
Okay, Ms. D'Agresta?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. You've identified the areas that you would like corrected, and you've typed up the information. If you'd like to read it aloud, that is perfectly appropriate as well, so that everyone is aware of the changes that will be made to the minutes.
Wonderful, thank you. So for discussion C, the media report on Taxpayers Association luncheon, I'd like the record to be clear that I brought up for discussion with my fellow board members my concern that an incorrect assertion was made by a local news weekly that stated that the only reason graduation rates had increased in Indian River County is because the bar had been lowered by the state. Ms. D'Agresta was asked by another board member for a legal opinion for consideration of any legal action for misquoting or misstating facts as being libellous. Under X, School Board Member Matters, Mrs. Justice reported on her attendance at the Vero Beach High School Pride of the Tribe event and thanked various members of staff for meeting to discuss the budget. Mrs. Justice spoke about her participation on a citizen review panel for the United Way of Indian River County. She encouraged community members to participate in this process. Mrs. Justice also reported on her committee involvement, stating that she had an upcoming Moonshot Community Action Network meeting with the Learning Alliance and an executive roundtable on Indian River County meeting in which she would be helping the group to vision the Kids at Hope program in our schools. There were various mistakes in the minutes, and I just wanted it corrected for the record.
Okay, these will be read into the minutes, attached to the minutes, please, correction. Do we need to have a motion on that, or?
I move to approve the item with the amendments suggested by Mrs. Justice and provided to Mrs. Stang for correction.
And do I hear a second?
I'll make a second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, the next item was movement of item from the consent agenda, B20.
And that was me.
Huh?
That was me.
Was you? Yep.
Thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Searcy. I have to thank the mother that came forward, and I have to say that I just want to make sure, first of all, something of this magnitude should have been pulled, no matter what is decided. I have to say, so that the public clearly understands, that of course we are all, and I think that was clear, and thank you, Ms. Parentella, for, I tried to quote you. I think we can all agree that having a behavior specialist or somebody in all the schools is quite important, but at what cost? To diminish the qualifications of the existing workers, to take away certifications, to then have them reapply for jobs. I didn't know the numbers, but I'm going by Ms. Parentella. It affects 12 people. So what we're doing, the public, I want you to know what we're doing, is we're magically dissolving a job, creating a new title, lowering the bar, telling people they could apply for the job if they want, but why would we hire them when their the supplement for having those certifications would be lower? Wouldn't you go with someone who doesn't have the certifications if the raw job qualification is not to have them? We are striking board-certified assistant behavior analyst, or a BCABA, as the lingo goes. We are cutting the master's degree in exceptional education, behavior analysis, psychology, social worker, counseling, or related field from an accredited educational institution in agreement to obtain certification. So we're not even saying that they have to obtain it at a later date. We are cutting this from the job qualification. We are making it possible for not rehiring the people who are in the places, helping our children. And we're doing it with the stroke of a pen during a consent agenda. Now, I want help for all the areas in the school. And I sat up here and spoke and said we'd like to see that. But not at cutting the throats of existing hardworking people, and not at the cost of our students. We're always saying it's about our students. Our students will suffer. All of our 504 plan students will suffer. That is the Disabilities Act. Those are parents like that are speaking and are a voice for their children who cannot have a voice. I'm very upset that this happened. I'm upset that it happened this way. But I do agree, as one of our speakers said, that it is important to have those services across the board, but not at this cost. I cannot support this. I will not support this. And I pulled it for that reason, that I need to explain that for the public so they know exactly what this school district wants to do by retitling and telling people, you're not fired. You could just reapply and you might get your job, but what would you do in a sea of applicants when the people are applying, you could get them at a lower salary and pay less supplements? What would you do as an employer? There's no law governing that you don't have to hire them again. I just think it's just a shabby way of doing business. I don't like the lack of transparency, and so I pulled it. I want it to be transparent. I want everyone to know that I don't support it. Now, for those who are in need at their schools, I empathize. I want to get you help, and there should be a way, but not at this cost and not like this.
Do I have a motion?
Go in questions.
Sorry, we'll do motion second and a question, maybe.
I'd like to, before a motion is made, I'd like to debate if at all possible, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Dr. Rendell, for what purpose have you recommended these changes?
So we talked a lot during the year this year that all of our schools need full-time behavior support. With the position of student support specialist, we actually weren't able to afford to have a full-time student support specialist at every building. The position with all the supplements was actually quite costly. So during the year this year, we actually shared the position at 4 different schools, and we found that to not be effective. So as we looked through the process of how could we afford to make sure that every school has full-time behavior support, we looked at the job duties, the job titles, the job expectations, and we came up with rewriting this job description to behavior intervention specialist. A lot of the things associated with the student support specialist, we didn't see them actually doing or requiring them to do those things. So by changing the job title to behavior intervention specialist, we're able to afford to have a full-time behavioral support person at every school in the district. We met with all of the student support specialists, all but one, last week to explain this to them. The one that couldn't meet with us was out of town. Mrs. Dampier and Dr. Torres Martinez Spent a lot of time looking at the situation, and we believe that this will provide full-time behavior support at every school in the appropriate way. If the people have the additional certifications, they do receive supplements. There is a reduction in overall pay, what they could earn. But we did have some people in these positions that hadn't yet earned the supplements, earned the certifications, that were still receiving the supplement. And also, this allows some of them that would have actually been forced out of the position because they hadn't achieved those supplements to be able to maintain their employment. Mrs. Dampier, anything you'd like to add?
Good evening. We contracted with DMC, District Managed Council, last year, and they've been doing work with our district over the past year and a half. And this was a report that they did, and they actually did a survey where the student support specialists were surveyed last year twice. And this was the result. It said, Indian River has invested in student support specialists for every school who are trained behavior analysts. They are often, based on the data, they are often asked to take on a number of additional building level responsibilities that may not be part of their job description, such as monitoring lunchrooms or providing student discipline. These additional responsibilities can dilute the benefits of having student support specialists. This is further complicated. Well, the schedule analysis indicates that student support specialists on average, and the goal is that they spend more contact with students, but based on the data that they provided by the survey, they spend about 36% of their time with students providing support, while the rest of the time, 64% of the time of the week, is devoted to other responsibilities such as assigned school duties or attending meetings. And from there, based on the challenge, all year long we've heard people stand at the podium saying that there's behavior problems in our schools. And we want to provide a tiered level of support. Our goal is to provide training for all our behavior intervention specialists, intense support, and this is a year-long ongoing process that would take place throughout the year, providing that support at Tier 1. Right now, we're having every school identify what is their Tier 1 behavior support plan at their schools, and from there, we're gonna provide support with our behavior intervention specialists as well as our resource specialists. And one of the responsibilities that the behavior intervention specialists or student support specialists used to have was implementing and creating 504 plans. And our goal is to remove that from the behavior intervention specialists and move that to the resource specialists. So our goal is that this person, the people that have the credentials will continue to receive a $10,000 supplement instead of $18,000. The certification would be lowered to a bachelor's degree. Of course, if people apply for these positions, they would get paid for if they had a bachelor's degree or whatever credentials that they had, but the minimum qualifications will be a bachelor's degree. Those schools that have more, where we feel like there are more intense services that we need at those schools, the behavior analysts would be assigned to those schools. Ms. Clark, do you want to provide any more additional information on this? You want to go to?
She needs to come up.
Mike,
Yeah, Mike.
please.
So as Mrs. Dampier was saying, we want to ensure that all schools are receiving behavior supports. We did a comprehensive analysis looking at like-sized districts as well as districts across the state in terms of their models in supporting students with disabilities and certified behavior analysts. I will say that Indian River is very unique in that we have student support specialists at every school, and that is not a model that we found in other school districts. Traditionally, what we have seen are board-certified behavior analysts or BCABAs at the district levels at 3 or 4, and then you have behavior supports at each school. So what we did, we had a proposal that we brought forth to the executive board in terms of various models, and that is the model that was approved. Any other questions?
For Ms. Dampier, I have a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to stay
I
up here.
want to stay there just in case.
Ms. Dampier, I have been approached by teachers, and I guess the student support specialists are telling our teachers that they're going to have to be writing their own behavior plans. Can you speak to that?
Actually, we feel like there would be more support in the classroom. The role of this, we would really want our behavior intervention specialists to be working with teachers, looking at the behaviors. Right now, our student support specialists, they're putting out fires. They're picking up students, taking them to a room, or picking up students and, we're not fixing the behavior. Our goal is to identify what are the behaviors, what is the trend, what are we seeing as trend, and provide interventions to hopefully correct the behaviors. And that's the goal of the behavior intervention specialist. So as far as teachers having additional responsibilities, that's not outlined here. Our goal is to work with teachers to minimize the behaviors in the classroom. Because if you can't get the behaviors under control, there's no learning that's going to occur in the classroom. And especially, we want every kid to be successful. So if those kids are constantly in and out, in and out, in and out, we need to find out why and then provide those interventions.
It's my understanding that we have 6 student support specialists that were required this year to obtain that certification. And after looking into the certification, if you could speak to why we used to require that. My understanding is we did require that because we were able to bill Medicaid, but a lot of the services provided by the student support specialist didn't allow us to actually bill for the utilization of.
Ms. Clark, can you speak?
So we are able to bill Medicaid for various services, and that is student time with students, that direct service. And as Mrs. Dampier shared, that direct service time, the average based on the DMC, now DMG report, indicates about 34% of direct service time. That service time will increase is what our goal is through this new model, to ensure that our behavior intervention specialists are able to provide direct interventions to students. That billing can continue based on our current model that we're proposing.
So, and I understand trying to assess this. So I really, and honestly, I want to say that there was a problem and there was a thought of trying to come up with a solution. But what I see, and it was even, as you mentioned, that a lot of the student support services are being pulled out to monitor and do things like that. And so their workload has nothing to do sometimes with what they're supposed to be doing. My understanding was the district, and I really don't want to be looking at you, I'm just saying in general, my understanding that there was a need and there was a problem and we were going to address that and have some more behavior specialists at the school. And that if you had a layered approach where you had the student support specialists in place for people like these children, like our children who need that help, then you have to take the slack up, and again, becomes finances. But I see a creative way where we had a limited amount of dollars, where we want to get more billing into Medicare, and where we want to reduce the salaries of people and the requirements so that we could spread it over a bigger field. And that's how we solve the problem. But that's not how I feel we should solve the problem. And sacrifice services for people. And as I said, if this was a layered approach where we created behavior specialists, maybe juggled the student support specialists at different schools and had a lower tier, I wouldn't have any problem so that you get them into, I think your objective, as you just said, was to get them into the classroom and FaceTime. But to sacrifice the qualifications of people, for those people and those students who need those people, first of all, they should never have had the minutia of monitoring and everything added to them. You could take that away and give it to other people or to behavior specialists with the lower qualifications. Let them do some monitoring. Let them do some hall duty, some proctoring, and let the behaviorist handle some of the classroom one-on-one with maybe students that are not in need of those specialized services that these people, it's a laundry list what we scratched, what they don't have to have anymore. And so it just reminds me of that commercial with the monitor at the bank, the guard saying, oh, yeah, I'm just a monitor, yeah, you're just getting robbed. You know, I mean, it just is ridiculous, our solution, because I think we're sacrificing, services for our kids. I mean, we're always up here saying it's about the kids, and we're going to sacrifice that just so everybody gets a piece of the pie. That was not my idea of the solution. I totally don't, and that's all I'll say about it.
Ms. Justice?
Yes, sir. I'm going to have to disagree a little bit. We have had continued issues with behavior and discipline at our schools, and teachers have said that behavior and discipline is a distraction. But what I also know is that we will not, as I heard someone say recently, suspend students into success. They will not be successful if they are not in our classrooms. So the idea of having a behavior intervention specialist at every school working with students in their classroom to find the best interventions that they can use to keep them in the classroom and to keep them learning is promising. To me. I also think that the way that we have always done things is not necessarily the best way to do them, and that change is at times difficult. As this board has discussed before, there are sometimes people in positions who have credentials that are not necessary to perform the position. It's my understanding that the resource specialist that the job description that we approved that was Consent B19 will have more of a focus on 504s and identifying exact student needs in the classroom, making sure that those 504s are really student-specific. So I see an opportunity here for these two positions to work together to best meet student needs on every campus. I have to say that I've seen some wonderful things coming out of curriculum and with Ms. Clark and some of the plans that they've had that I've met with them and discussed. And I have some faith in their judgment in this situation that this will be what is really meeting the needs of all students. So that's my opinion on this matter.
Mrs. Ward?
Just like with Ms. Justice, I have spent much time with Mrs. Dampier, and I do believe this is in the best interest of our students, and I do not see where we are diminishing the quality of education for our students because we decide to restructure this. We're restructuring because we're tired of doing the same thing over and over and expecting success from our students. I highly suggest that we do pass this tonight. I think it was very troubling that 36% of the time that our student support specialists actually spent in the classroom, and I look at, as a new board member coming on, listening to all the problems, the teachers not getting the support with the discipline and the behavior issues, but when I look at only 36% of the time they were in the classroom, can you imagine when we have them in the classroom, what are we expecting? At least 90%, and then 10% is paperwork?
Ms. Clark, do you want to?
So our goal and the benchmark that has been defined as best practice is 75 to 80% of their time would be spent with direct service to students. And that would be the creation of functional behavior assessments and behavior intervention plans and the modeling and support that will be provided in the classrooms for our kids.
Exactly, and I see with us increasing a resource, is it a resource specialist?
Resource specialist in every school.
At every school, we're not taking away, we're actually adding to it. And I am very much in support of this. I think it's in the right direction. And I hate the fact that it's being portrayed that we are compromising the quality of education that our kids are going to receive based on us being creative in how we're going to spread the resources across. We just, was it last school board meeting, we just voted on restructuring of all our admin positions. And I see that with Ms. Dampier's help, we're restructuring, but it doesn't mean that we're restructuring to compromise. So I'm definitely in support of this. I appreciate all the work that Mrs. Dampier has put into this, and I will be voting on this tonight in favor.
I also have one more thing. Like you said, we added the resource specialists. Currently, we're sharing resource specialists between schools. So really, all they're doing is compliance. They're going from one school to the next. They're doing the paperwork because they really don't have time to, monitor or oversee the instructional services of our ESE department or what's going on with our ESE. We feel like if we have a resource specialist at each school site, that person will be able to oversee what is going on with our ESE, and that's going to actually build a foundation with our ESE services as well as each school. So in actuality, we're trying to make sure that we provide more support at the school. We're not taking support away, we're adding.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
When you say compliance, so basically what we've been doing is we have resource specialists splitting their time saying, okay, this is a 504, is that being covered? Not really pulling the 504 and analyzing if there have been is that?
Actually, the 504s were up under the
They were under the student support, so now we're moving it to resource. There will be a resource specialist at every school.
Yes.
And that resource specialist will really know those children and pull the 504s and make sure not only are we complying, but we're best meeting the needs.
Yes, and also working with IEPs, and they will know those students at the school and be able to work with teachers as well as, make sure we provide that support in the classrooms. They're gonna help oversee that process. So it's a little different mindset than what we've been doing. And we've heard time and time again about the discipline, ESE students, things of that nature. All year long, I sat here and I heard that. And we really do need to have a firm foundation with our ESE support at each school instead of sharing that support across, between two schools. So we're actually adding more support to schools.
Ms. Orr?
Ms. Dampier, can you please speak to parents that are concerned that, like we had our guest here tonight, our teacher that is concerned about mom about not getting the support for her child. Can you speak to that?
Actually, we're going to be looking at data to determine which one of our behavior intervention specialists who have the credentials will be placed at our most severe schools. We're going to place them according to data. So we're not just going to say just because you've been at that school, you're going to be placed here. We're looking at the data to make those decisions. And Ms. Clark, do you want to speak on behalf of that as well?
Again, we are analyzing, and Mrs. Hanley may mention students of autism to ensure that programming and support is placed in our most needy schools. And with that being said, we may need to make some movement in terms of where our current student support specialists are providing that support to best meet the needs of our students.
Am I allowed to respond to any of this since it's in relation to my comments?
What's the question, I'm sorry?
Am I allowed to respond to any of this since it's in relation to my concern?
I think
It'll be out of
we're,
order.
huh? I
Mr.
think
Chair,
not.
may I just make a comment? I know that all of these changes are hard. I know that we are making changes and we have people and they're shaking things up. And I know that they're hard decisions. No one said being a school board member is going to be easy. I know that these are tough decisions and they affect people's lives and their livelihood, and I understand that. But I do believe that this approach will be what's best for students in the classrooms in the long run, and I'm hopeful that we have the right people making these decisions. I know that we have the right people making the decisions right now. So I will be supporting this tonight.
Well, the bottom line is, we hire a superintendent and pay him a lot of money to make these decisions. He's made this recommendation. He's got good staff that does their homework. And if it doesn't work, guess who gets the credit for it? So,
I do have one question before I make my decision. Will this lead to more or fewer BCBA, BACBA people, certified individuals in our schools?
Well, actually, they actually go back to school to get the training. So the minimum qualifications is a bachelor's degree. So if they get the credentials, then of course they would get the $10,000 supplement.
They get a supplement. They don't have to.
They don't have to.
They don't
But,
have to.
I have my answer.
I would like to point out, ask Ms. Clark, there are some current student support specialists that do not have the credential for BCBA, correct?
Yes,
And those student support specialists would not be able to remain in those positions
that is correct.
next year. But they would be eligible for these positions.
Yes,
Just want to make sure we understand that we're not stripping away.
jobs.
There are some people that would not be able to remain in these positions if we did not do this.
Yes.
Correct. Last year, it was my understanding, the job description was initially written that you would hold a master's degree or bachelor's degree, but if you held a master's degree, you had up to 3 years in order to achieve the BCBA or BCABA. We had several folks in a position that they had not achieved that certification, so there was an extension to the job description last year and approved by the board to add a year 4. So at the evaluation of our current programming, we still had 4 personnel that had not achieved that BCBA or BCABA and would not remain in the position if it remained as is.
But they have received the full supplement this year.
Yes, there were several that received a full supplement of either, well, a half a supplement if they were in experience category, which would have been $9,000. If they were in I'm sorry, it's escaping me, expert level, they received $18,000 supplement.
Okay.
So just, again, as a clear understanding, we are not taking that market supplement away for those that have their certification. However, it would be reduced from the $18,000 at the expert level to the $10,000. And it's based on certification, not based on experience.
Those folks were actually given 4 years to get that certification.
Yes,
And
it was
they
my
didn't do it.
understanding that it was extended last year at board approval.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I want to know. So do we have a guarantee that the people who are in those positions with the certifications are getting their jobs? That's what we can't guarantee. So by a pen, people could be losing their jobs tonight.
Just like we have current positions, like I have current positions that we've reclassified as executive directors. They're applying, I have people who are directors, they're applying for those jobs. This is the same way. I mean.
I understand, but
Yes, ma'am.
if I was an employer and somebody applied for a job that had minimum requirements and didn't need the $8,000 or $9,000 supplement,
Yes, ma'am.
and then I had another person who's been doing the job all along, not only was it reclassified, not only was it reduced in salary so the school district could spread the pie, and not only now I'm going up against someone else who's, challenging me for my position, and the school district could hire them with less money, with less certifications. That's why I'm asking if the field is open and people can apply.
Yes, ma'am.
What would stop? I don't know that we're going to do that. I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but what guarantee do we have on the board tonight that all those people's positions will be retained?
We currently have 18. We're going to have 22 openings. 22, so there's 4 additional positions that we're adding.
Yes, with supplements. With supplements, you have 18 positions.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a supplement issue. If you are lowering the supplement, and even if you weren't, and you had 2 people apply for the job, you could hire the person that you don't have to pay a supplement to.
When we
I'm just saying, it's a possibility. That could be done by this board as a legislative move up here, and then as the jobs get executed, that could happen. People could lose their job.
When we met with staff last week, it was under the understanding, we told them, we said, hey, we have all these positions, we want you to reapply. We have no intentions of letting people go. I mean, we have positions available. It's not like there's a plethora of people out there that if they apply and they meet the qualifications, they're gonna get their job.
Except for, they're going to lose a salary, and I'm not, because we don't list salaries, that's why I'm saying, it's not even transparent.
What do you mean?
What's the difference in pay? And I know you can't do this because you're gonna go with years' experience. You take your student support specialist, and I'm gonna use this fictitiously, let's say they make $70,000. And now a behaviorist with that experience makes $50,000, plus the supplemental is less. So now maybe there's a 20 grand difference in salary, which is $400 a week, that they have to get cut like that. They could leave just because we've erased a third of their salary with a stroke of a pen.
If you meet the criteria and you have your credentials, it's an $8,000 reduction.
And what about salary?
So their pay
No,
grade
pay.
will remain the same.
Say, for
The
instance,
pay
if they were
grade will
getting
remain the same.
70,000, if they were making 70,000 and they had their credentials, that was including the supplement.
But you don't have the salary range. You don't have 50 to 70, 70 to 90 in front of us. So how will I know that you're going to keep, let's say you have a student support specialist who's making $80,000 a year. Because I know principals
They're
make 90.
staying at the same level. This is what I have.
It's a grade C. It's
It's
still
a
a grade
grade
C.
C.
It's the same salary
Base
schedule.
expert is 50,000.
So, and so these are part of my, this comes up like this, under consent. I don't have the spread in salaries. I have a lot of phone calls. I have a lot of, public speaking, and I have email that there's an objective to this. So I'm a board member, and I'm a little blindsided by this myself. I can't imagine the people who are working on it and the people who are involved in this as far as their livelihood, the parents who don't even know that this is happening, the parents, thank God we had I don't know how you found out, but thank you. Well, thank you for being alert and right. And I just think that this is not right to do to the parents, to the students, and to the people in those positions, or to me, without seeing those jobs, the range of salaries, and exactly, because for me, I think it's an unfair practice. And that's, I would urge this board to at least postpone this to the next agenda so that you have a full knowledge of the salary span and make sure that we are not harming our well-valued, I do not want to devalue any of our support, student support service specialists. I want to make sure they know that I have totally
Ms.
examined
Justice?
everything.
Ms. Justice?
I see this as an opportunity to provide more support to teachers and to students in schools. As far as people being able to reapply, if you are doing a good job in your job, then you should get your job again. If you're not doing a good job, you have no business having your job. We have situations where perhaps we are dealing with issues that do not arise, they don't just happen by themselves. Perhaps this is a necessary, I trust that if you're good at your job and you are doing well by students in our classrooms, you are going to get back out of school and you're going to be hired again. But no one is guaranteed a job. You have to do a good job. Isn't that the way? We want our best.
You're telling 12
student
people we're
support.
taking $10,000 away from you.
No, it's not 10,000, it's 8,000. They were given an $18,000 market supplement last year, and we're reducing that by 8,000. So it's going from 18,000 to 10,000. If they have the credentials, they'll get 10,000. If they don't have the credentials, then they'll get their base pay, which will be on level C.
Ms. Orr?
I just want to reiterate, this is not a detriment to our, to what we're trying to offer here. It is to enhance and support our students more, and not only support our students, but to support the desperately needed support that our teachers need in the classroom. We are restructuring to make sure that the teachers, let me say it again and again, that teachers get the support in the classroom that they need, that they've been asking for, and then what they have long deserved. So this is not we're not eliminating to hurt our students. We are doing this, we are reorganizing, just like we did 2 weeks ago with our organizational chart. We are reorganizing. And, I just want the public to know that we're not just reorganizing in curriculum, we are reorganizing because we are tired of just the status quo in our district. We are looking at ways that we can be more advanced, more innovative, and so I will encourage our superintendent and our assistant superintendents to keep thinking outside the box like they have with this change and with the change with the resource specialist. So it is not to harm our students, it's only going to benefit them.
I need a motion on this.
Move approval.
Justice, okay. Need a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm on the fence on this one. So we're asking people to come back next year and do the same job for $8,000 less.
No, sir, the job description is different than what they had to do before. They're not involved with a lot of the paperwork, the 504s and stuff like that.
And
The
lunch
resource
duty.
specialist handles that now. If we didn't have a full-time resource specialist at every school, we will in this model. So some schools had a part-time student support specialist and a part-time resource specialist. Now that school will have a full-time behavior intervention specialist and a full-time resource specialist. So more resources at the schools in this model.
And more resources in the classroom where they will not be doing lunch duty, they will not be doing bus duty and things of that nature, which the majority of their day was spent doing that. And we have the data to support that.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, out of respect to my peers, I can't be up on this until I have more conversations, as it would be out of order to speak with a parent now until I have more conversations with teachers and parents as to how they would think this plays out. Respectfully, I can't be up on this.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign.
No.
No.
Okay. The next item of business will be, we'll get to the action agenda now. I'm sorry?
3 to 2.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, 3 to 2. I'm sorry, Ms. Boycell, 3 to 2. You got the yeas and the nays? Okay. Okay, the first item on the action agenda, approval of the owner-contractor construction agreement for Dodgertown Elementary roof replacement. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item A, we are seeking approval for a construction agreement with Crowther Roofing and Sheet Metal Incorporated for the Dodgertown Elementary roof replacement project. The cost of construction of this project is not to exceed $268,538. This is the first of 3 roofing projects we're asking for approval tonight.
Move
Make a motion.
Sorry.
To approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Next item, action item B, approval of the owner-contractor construction agreement for Fellsmere Elementary roof replacement. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item B, we're seeking approval for a construction agreement between the school board and Hamilton Roofing Incorporated for a Fellsmere Elementary roof project. The cost of construction of this project is not to exceed $219,782. We're asking for your approval.
Need a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 5-0. Next item is C, approval of owner-contractor construction agreement for Rosewood Magnet School roof replacement. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item C, we're seeking approval for a construction agreement with Crowther Roofing and Sheet Metal for the Rosewood Magnet School roof replacement project. The cost of this construction project is not to exceed $185,647. We're seeking your approval.
Need a
Move
mo-
approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Next item, approval of change order for Florida Pipelining Solutions LLC for the Sebastian River Middle School Domestic Water Piping Restoration Project. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item C, we're seeking approval to issue a change order in the amount of $8,539.63 to Florida Pipelining Solutions for additional material costs associated with the domestic water pipe restoration project at Sebastian River Middle School. You may recall that we entered into this agreement to do some work inside the walls, and this was something we could do without tearing out the walls to get to the pipes. The final project cost is based on the actual total connections and footages required during this project exceeds the amount by $8,539.63. So the contract amount will be increased to a total of $225,458.63. We're asking for your approval of the additional $8,539.63.
Need a motion?
Move approval.
Second. Yield.
It was a tie.
I yield.
Any discussion? I have a question. Was this a hard bid that we did with these folks?
No.
I believe it wasn't seriously. Hard bid was based on plans that we had, and the plans were from 1976 when Sebastian River Middle School was first built. It's my understanding that when we actually went behind the walls, the linkages, as we've described in the narrative to the agenda, The pipes were more than originally thought. And so as we're already on site and mobilized, we asked them to move forward with that, with the work, knowing that we would come back to the board and ask for approval. It is, again, still saving the district money as opposed to going through and tearing out the walls, as Dr. Rendell mentioned. Tearing out the wall would be pretty expensive, and we tried to use a very thinking outside of the box and creative way that we could go in and repair those pipes. So we ask your approval for the additional amount.
It kind of bothers me that we have a contract bid, a hard bid, and we can't hold the company to the bid, because if they would have found that it was easier behind the walls, I'm sure we wouldn't have gotten a rebate, but Ms.
Thank you, Mr. Searcy. I actually had an opportunity to pull up the original contract because I actually had the same question that you had. And in the contract that was approved back in 2016, there was a specific provision in it where the contractor is saying, I'm giving you my best estimate today, but that the final invoice will be based upon the actual connections and footages found during the project and may be lower or higher. So the original contract did contain that provision.
That works. That works. I mean, that's all we needed
Yes,
to
sir.
have right there, yeah. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 5-0. Item E, approval to purchase replacement white fleet vehicles for physical plant through the Florida Sheriff's Association Cooperative Vehicle Bid FSA 16-VEL 24.0 and Florida State Contract 2510000, I think that's enough, -16-1. Dr. Rendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In action item E, we're seeking approval to replace 5 vehicles acquired between 1998 and 2005. They are in poor condition and have high mileage. The total cost is $89,036.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I lost my, there it is. Who made the motion on that?
Me.
Dale and
Me?
I did the second.
Dale, okay. Second was,
Mrs. Justice.
And so, is it 4 vehicles?
Yes, Ms. Simchek. Our apologies to the board. There is a Scribner's error from the last time we had this on the agenda. It was 5. If you look at the backup, there's actually 4 that we're replacing. Thank you.
That's right, on the spreadsheet's 4.
3 and 1 is 4, that's right. Okay. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Thorpe.
I just think this is a very bad time to be approving to buy vehicles that still are running and operating whenever we have so many, we're still going through the budget process. I just don't think this is wise for us to approve this tonight. And in addition, we're approving an E250 cargo van, and I looked this up and I looked into the lifespan of this Ford, and it's a 2005 with 106,000 miles. Now, when you look up research with Ford, it says these cargo vans can run up to 300 to 400,000 miles. And, you know, this one only has 106,000 miles. It does say that there's no major engine issues with these Ford E250 cargo, but, you know, over time you will have to replace the radiator hoses, the fuel pumps, and the ignition coils. So first of all, I think it's bad timing to bring these up before we actually get through budget and see what we do have to purchase and for our schools. And secondly, I do not see where we should be buying another van to replace a 2005 whenever the life expectancy is normally 300,000 and it only has 106,000. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 4, 2, 1. Okay, Ms. Zork, that's that. Okay, the next item is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're actually nearing the end of the school year. I know we're only in May, but we are finishing before Memorial Day this year. And of note are some graduations. We do have what we call graduations from even kindergarten these days, but Definitely the high school graduations are a milestone for all of our students and families, and so very shortly we will be celebrating these high school graduations. I believe Sebastian River High School is graduating Friday night, May 19th at 7 p.m. at their stadium. Vero Beach High School is graduating the following morning, 8 a.m. at the Citrus Bowl. We will be in the Citrus Bowl for that ceremony. And then later that day, Indian River Charter High School is graduating in the Vero Beach High School PAC, I believe at 3 p.m. So I want to wish all those families congratulations on this milestone and thank all of the educators from their pre-K and kindergarten teachers all the way to their senior year teachers that have helped make this happen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Discussion. Ms. Justice.
Thank you. I just wanted some clarification about going forward as far as when we're asking questions of staff, how that is to work. I went and looked at board policy, and my understanding is it goes through the superintendent, and so I'm receiving like some emails about some different things, questions, and so I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as far as, you know, as far as asking questions of staff, the superintendent staff, to be clear, not the board attorney or, you know, Ms. Stang who work for us, but.
The answer to the question, I guess superintendent can give his comment on it, but go ahead, Mr. Superintendent.
Yeah, in policy it states that most communication should go through the superintendent. I think when you're asking a member of staff a simple question or anything like that, I think it's okay to contact them directly. But when we're asking for work to be done or things like that, typically, according to policy, it would go through me, and then I would direct staff to report back, that kind of thing.
But I think the policy, I think it's 0149.3, board staff communication. I think it indicates, though, if you send an email to staff and they respond, they're supposed to respond to all 5 board members. So there's a little confusion on that, but you might want to look back over that. But we don't want to put, as far as I'm concerned, we don't want to put anybody in a bad spot. But if I have a question for Carter and I want to find out something about it, I'm going to ask him, and he's going to let you guys know, because there's no need in him answering 5 different emails on the same question. And there's a good chance that he may have the same question. We all may have the same question. So policy covers it. You've heard the superintendent say most of the time we would go through him.
Okay.
But you know, I think in the past, it was a law, basically, that you had to send everything through the superintendent. But I think we have a pretty darn good relationship with staff now, upper staff. And but if the superintendent wants everything to go through him, and most of the time when you get a response back from staff, superintendent is copied on it at least. And I know he doesn't handle any emails because I get them at like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. So that's, if you think we need to change that, Mr. Superintendent, we can do it. But I think it works pretty well the way that it's going now.
No, I think most of the time everything works just fine. I think if there were any issues, I would note those.
Okay. Nope. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Wait, she wants,
That's all
has a
the
comment on that
discussion.
one.
Nope.
Well, this is on the same subject.
That's
so-
why I wanted to let you talk.
Just, I appreciate that, because sometimes first of all, I've asked the superintendent, and he's gone, oh, I call Bruce, you know, or something like that. But, you know, I think we've all been respectful, and usually if it's specific on technology or something, it's going to punt and kick, or a specific data. And so I appreciate you allowing us to do that. But I also appreciate, and I want to say thank you, staff, for when you blast back an answer to, you know, just, you know, the caveat of, you know, answer to all board. I received a question from a board member,
Right.
you know, in general, so that there's no crosstalk, because we have sunshine laws, and that they had asked this, and here is the answer, because then I look and I say, oh, I was looking at that something, you know, I was looking at it differently. Thank you for clarifying it. So I appreciate when the board does ask and staff answers back, because it puts, I might have been on the wrong track. And if it's you know, so I do appreciate, I wanted to say thank you to staff for doing that. Please do that, because I don't think one board member should have more information than another and then come up here unprepared. If my board members are thinking of things and asking you, and you reply to all board members, it's great. We just all have to be careful in crosstalk, as the attorney shakes her head.
And I think whoever put this board rule together in the past, they were pretty smart to make sure.
Was that
I
you?
mean, that was before me.
All right.
I don't know about that.
Nah, we're,
But I do agree with Ms. Simchak that when the reply goes out, it needs to be a board member.
Generic.
Yes. It does put us at a disadvantage whenever a board member asks for a piece of information, then the reply comes back when the staff member thinks that they know why you asked for that, and they reply, and then under sunshine, you know, the board member can't send out, well, that's their opinion of why they were asking for it. So I do think whenever a board member asks for information, that it needs to be informational only. And, you know, the staff's opinions, if it's not asked, needs to kind of stay out of the email whenever it's being blasted to all board members.
okay.
I would support you on anonymity. I think that's great because I don't want to, you said this and say, oh, you know, and know before I get to the table what someone else is thinking. That's somewhat of a you know, I mean, it hasn't happened, but I'm saying it could be considered somewhat of a conduit. I think the attorney might agree with that also. So I think that a board member has asked this question, so I will reply, this was the question and this is the reply, and I think that keeps us above board.
So we can't say he said, she said, because
Yeah,
that
keep
kind
the
of.
he and she out of it.
Does it? Yeah. All right, anything else on that?
No, sir.
Okay, Dale.
Dale. Nothing under discussion, thank you.
Good, okay, Sean?
Sure. Well,
Discussion?
discussion?
It's
Yeah.
just discussion, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I did have one thing that I shared with everyone, but, no, I could save the other for member matters, but under discussion, well, I think it's important to go over this maybe first to get some context around the other piece.
Sure.
All right.
You got the floor.
Okay. Earlier, we heard some fire and emotional conversation, and obviously, I struck a nerve, and was unskillful in my speaking, and I apologize for any feelings hurt or disrespect received or perceived. But I would like to counter some of that with some facts. And here are some facts about this very bad legislation that was said to destroy publication, I believe was the term, which that is an opinion. And here are some facts of what the legislation does, and this is House Bill 7069. It gives teachers, and this, in creating this legislation, I did join a focus group of teachers together and receive feedback. I've talked with numerous staff members about different facets of this, and you know, fortunately, I have the opportunity to share this with the bill sponsors and legislators in Tallahassee, and this is a far better product than it would be without having a voice at that table. So here are the assessments. Around the assessments, it gives teachers more time to teach and students more time to learn by moving the test window back to later in the year. That's something that I believe was 82% of teachers said they wanted to see. Requires a quicker return of test results to schools and parents. Requires the parents receive an easy-to-understand report for their student scores. Requires that current year teachers and next year teachers have a record and access to their students' score reports. That's something teachers certainly wanted. Here's something that teachers have said they wanted forever, however, certain special interest groups oppose, and that is making VAM optional at the district level. They've gone to Tallahassee for years and years saying they don't want VAM. However, due to Senator Montford's good introduction to this idea, to the legislation, should this bill pass, it will make VAM optional. And this is something this board has said they want. It requires the Commissioner of Education to contract for an independent study of ACT or SAT to determine whether ACT, SAT can be administered in lieu of the grade 10 ELA and Algebra 1 EOC. That's something Senator Lee pushed in debate. It eliminates the Algebra 2 EOC. That's one test gone. It has a very low pass rate. Originally, you know, one version had it eliminating civics, but civics is important, you know, and it has a very high pass rate with students. So it also requires paper pencil assessments in grades 3 through 6. Now, as I talk to my colleagues, or, you know, my former colleagues, teachers in the classroom today, especially those in 3rd grade, said that this is an absolute must-have. So, it also opens up the test for parent and teacher inspection every 3 years. Right now, Governor Scott couldn't look at a test if he wanted to. So, and that brings a lot of concern to both parents and teachers. So this other legislation that's currently opposed, what it does is it increases teacher bonuses. By removing the cap on teacher bonuses when students earn credit in AP, IB, AICE, and industry credential courses, which are currently capped at, I believe, $2,000, this removes that. This is also great for teachers as it saves money for Florida's families because those students have earned college credit in high school. Now, how this in particularly helps teachers, last year, the Best and Brightest Scholarship was only available with certain candidly outdated test scores. It's a program that needed to be improved, and it was only funded at $49 million. This year, it's funded at $239 million, basically 4 times more dollars that are going to go to teachers. And it's not just for those who are superstar students back in high school. They've expanded it greatly to begin looking at things like GPA, other tests, LSAT, GMAT, GRE, qualifying through a number of different ways for a $6,000 bonus. They've included principals in this. And one piece of information that was really important is giving more money to principals in Title I schools. So it would give $5,000 bonus to principals in Title I schools who meet certain criteria. It'll give $4,000 to principals in non-Title I schools that meet certain criteria. And every single teacher who earns the rating of highly effective will receive a $1,200 bonus for the next 3 years. Every teacher who earns effective will receive an $800 bonus for the next 3 years. So basically, if you're retained in your job, you're going to receive either an $800 or $1,200 bonus. And unfortunately, the union opposes that. So it does have some pieces in it about replication and some turnaround processes that were originally, to my mind, a bit draconian, and at the same time over-restrictive, and they didn't give districts an opportunity to turn their schools around. So one of the things that happened is there were conversations, and some of us said we need to be not team charter school, which was the original version, not team district managed, which is another position, but team whatever it takes. You know, to think bigger, take bold action, and to give kids hope. And we have one of the schools that qualifies on this list right here in our district. And candidly, it's been a sore spot for me the entire time I've been elected. It squeaks by with a D for, I believe it's 4 years now. And those students, we're not talking about 1 year. We're not talking about 2 years. We're not talking about 3 years. We're talking about nearly an entire generation of students at that school who have never experienced a grade of an education in a grade of C school or better. And what the new legislation does is it allows schools like that and districts like that to prepare big, bold plans with wraparound services and seek from the state up to $2,000 per student in funding. And that, I believe, is what was shared with you as some of the legislation on that piece of how this district can, you know, should this legislation be signed into law, it has passed both chambers and is before the governor. If it were to be signed into law, this district could have an opportunity to not just have big ideas, but to have, I believe it would be about $800,000 or more, depending upon the number of students. I assume 400 students. I didn't check the current FTE. But there are options for districts to be engaged, and only 25 schools. But candidly, I think our district is a great, stands a great chance. One, because we do have great thinkers. We've been limited by resources. This will bring the resources to the district. And two, because candidly, we aren't a really great target for these high-impact charters because they're going to go where there are multiple schools where they can draw students. So with that, I would like to open for discussion the idea of possibly seeking or asking Dr. Rendell and his newly minted elementary education specialist in curriculum, if there's any interest in preparing a bold turnaround plan with wraparound services, basically, the community schools concept or things along those lines that, to prepare to position us to be one of the first schools to receive that funding.
For a particular school?
Yes, sir. Well, we only have one that
Well,
qualifies for that.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, I was waiting on him to finish up.
Okay, may I?
Yeah, oh, yes.
So, we're talking about Dodgertown Elementary School.
Correct.
If I'm allowed to say that, I mean.
That's Dr. Rendell's
I'm allowed to say
question.
that. They were only 4 points away from a C last year. And I've been over at that school, and they are working so hard, and I believe in those kids, and I think there's a great chance that that grade's going to be improved this year, and I'm hopeful. So while I think your suggestion is a great suggestion, I am also very hopeful for that school that this will not be an issue for them. Those teachers are working hard, those students are working hard. So that's a school that has a lot of challenges. No matter what we do, they still will have some challenges, and I understand there are things that we could improve upon. As far as legislation, there are things I like, there are things I don't like. They all kind of got tossed together, and that's hard for me to swallow as a school board member. You mentioned Senator Montfort. He voted no, correct? My understanding is he voted no, so while the VAM, and some other people voted no too, that maybe that was a mistake, I don't know. But, so you have some people that originally had ideas going into this that wanted them to be supported and eventually were not able to support this bill or able to support some of these initiatives. So, I think it's important to recognize that. And I've seen a huge pushback from, on social media from superintendents around the state and from teachers. And so, I do have to, in my position, question if it's so great for teachers and so great for schools, why is there such a pushback from teachers and from schools, about some of it. So I try to be a critical thinker. Some of it's really good. And, not everything that was on our legislative platform made it there. Class size, I was really disappointed to not see class size be a part of anything. I think that would have been an easy, no-cost thing for us, and that we didn't get anywhere with that. So, but in respect to Dodgertown, I'm feeling good, Mr. Frost. I think we're gonna I think we're on the way to make some big, bold improvements there.
But
Yes,
if
sir.
the legislature has some money that they will give us,
Yes.
cash in. Cash in.
Well, but are you familiar with exactly what that means? That's for this coming year. That would be for this coming year.
Sean knows.
Yes.
Okay.
It is allocated in this year's budget is $140 million for turnaround schools.
Because even as hard as they're working, Ms. Justice, as hard as they're working over there, they may not come out of the hole. But we could sure use the money here. I mean, you've heard them say that. So if it helps us get the job done, Ms. Simchak.
Yeah, and I totally support that. I know that you had put that on the discussion item, and at the time I had asked Dr. Rendell if there was any other schools that qualified, because I thought maybe the Indian River Academy had qualified. So I wouldn't want to do for one and not do for another. So are there other schools? Because I'd rather do them all. If there's other schools in our district that qualify, I want to make sure that we are catching them in the net. So again, I'm with Mr. Searcy. If there's money to be had for services and that we qualify, you can call it a service, you can call it a grant. By all means, of course, we want to collect on that. But I just want to make sure that if we do that type of direction towards the superintendent to look into that as a board, which I totally applaud, but I just don't want to do Dodgertown if Indian River Academy meets the criteria. I'm not sure.
So quite frankly, right now, we don't know if any of our schools qualify. It'll be based on this year's school letter grades. We won't get those till late June. Vero Beach Elementary theoretically could qualify. Any one of our schools that has been a low performer, so to speak, DRF school in the past could slip back down to that level just because of how hard it is to earn learning gains points. So we won't know until we get the school letter grades if any of our schools qualify. I will tell you that if there's an opportunity to get additional funding for our schools, we will make every effort to do that. So we will craft whatever kind of bold plan we need to craft to be able to move student achievement, and if that gets us money, then great, but, the goal would be to do whatever we need to do to help the students perform better at that school. And if it's a bold enough and brash enough plan that it earns us additional funding from the state, we'll take it.
When are they going to award the funds, do you know?
Well, that depends. And again, it will be limited to 25 schools. So having this conversation now is something I don't know that's happening around the state, which is why, I like to position us to succeed early and big. So, and I appreciate Dr. Rendell keeping an eye on all opportunities, because that's it. And what we hear is that the reason schools face challenges and why some actually succeed, where they basically are curve busters, is because they have flexibility in operation and they have resources to provide those wraparound services, to provide afternoon mentoring and tutoring and evening meals and study help and things like that may not happen in some of these family situations. So I think anything we can do, especially for those students who are financially disadvantaged, I think it's this board's responsibility to seek whatever resources and flexibility we can to make those students successful.
Can we get the applications and go ahead and have them ready? We're off for the summer, right? So the administrators.
Plenty of time.
Fair time?
Plenty of time.
No, actually, Mrs. Dampier and some of her staff will be attending the FOIL conference next week, and that's a curriculum-based conference, and I'm sure they'll get some information there. I don't know if the ink's even dry, though, on what this is going to look like.
It's not been accepted yet.
Right.
The governor hasn't
Right,
signed
it
it
hasn't
yet.
been signed,
And that's a whole separate
And it
story.
might not. So,
There might be hope.
But understand that we are constantly looking at our student performance at every one of our schools and constantly saying, if this is working, we'll continue this. If this isn't working, we need to do something different. So, we're going to be looking at improving what we're doing at every school regardless, of whether this program's available or not.
Anything else?
Yes, I would just say one thing. If we know that additional funding and flexibility equals success, if that's the formula, then what my question would be is why don't we do that for every school?
And that's a great question, because not every school has the same needs. And that's identifying those needs is important.
So why don't we do that, instead of 25 schools, why don't we fund education in the state of Florida to be able to do that for every school that has the need?
Question for the legislature.
Exactly.
Legislators, if you're listening, that is my question.
Give them your contact info so they can reach you. or-
Tiffany.justice@IndianRiverSchools. You can email me. We can have a conversation.
Great. Ms. Orr,
or,
or whatever you want to say.
discussion. I want to discuss our parent surveys that are due on May 12th. I think this is, I'd like either Dr. Rendell or Ms. Dampier to review where we are on the returns and why receiving these parent surveys are so important to us as a district. So could I have one of you?
Couple different things, and actually, Mr. Green is in charge of the
Okay,
survey.
okay.
We really want to know how our customers feel about our service. The families are our customers, so we definitely value the input of the parents. If you recall the school report card that we've developed, the first data point on the school report card is the letter grade given by the state. But the very next data point is the letter grade given by the parents. We want to know how our parents feel about our schools. That helps us inform our decisions. So we want to make sure that if we're going to use that data point, that we have a decent return rate. So right now, if your parents are watching and listening and everything, the Parent Climate Survey is available online through Focus. You need to log into Focus. We wanted to make sure that it came through a registered parent account. But you can take the survey. It's only 22 questions?
22 or 23.
Yeah, 22 or 3 questions, all multiple choice, no open, well, online there's an open-ended response question. But it's really valuable feedback. We use that information to make decisions, not just the letter grade given to the school. There are some questions that we look at about, how the parent feels about the services being delivered by the school. And so it's very, very important for us to get that feedback. If you don't have a Focus account or you've lost your password or whatever, You can go to any school and fill out the survey on paper, and then they will enter the parent survey on paper. And we have copies of it here at the district office as well. Mr. Green, anything you would like to add?
Yes, actually, we have another call going out this evening, I believe. It's either this evening, from the district, reminding parents about that. We did one at the beginning, and then individual principals have been doing that. I've been out at many of the schools. They're passing them out at all their events. They're in the parent pickup loop. They're sending them home in certain periods. They're just all over. And so the feedback, as you said, is also in our school report cards, looking for that parent satisfaction grade. It originally started as part of the school improvement process, where we survey our students, our parents, and our staff. So the data, really, the most important piece is by school, because they use that to guide their school improvement 8-step problem-solving process based on that feedback.
Really would encourage middle school and high school parents to take the time to do the survey. That is our lowest return rate. As we discussed earlier in our workshop, parent involvement seems to drop off, or at least parent-teacher communications or communication at all with the school seems to drop off after the elementary level. So getting the parent surveys from middle school and high school families is our biggest challenge. So if you're watching or listening and middle school parent and you haven't done the parent survey, please do so, or high school parent, please do so as soon as possible.
So when does the survey close again? Is it May 12th?
Survey closes this Friday. Last year, we extended the survey window. We may extend it this year again, so Friday being May 12th.
What kind of return have you had so far? Numbers?
So some schools, we've had great return rates so far. Mr. Green, are you pulling up the spreadsheet?
Yes, we are average, right now we have a 10% return rate district-wide. Some schools are well over 30%, some schools are under 10%. However, as I've called those schools, many of them have stacks of paper, because they have to take the paper and then somebody has to input those and click through. So the results don't include all the paper copies coming back at this time. So the 10% return rate is of mainly parents who have completed it online.
Good. No, I just would, since this is televised, I would just strongly urge our parents or our caregivers for our children to please make sure that you fill this survey out, because that is the feedback that we need as a board and a district to know what we're doing right, what we need to improve on, and things that you might see that might need improvement. So I would just strongly urge everyone to please fill out that survey and return it back to your school. That paper that you have there that you read from, where did you get that? I haven't seen that.
From a secret source.
Did you?
But it's actually in the.
Did you request that through staff?
I'm sorry?
Did you
You can get it on, it's Neola.
Oh, okay.
It's school board rule, or Neola rule, whatever, 0149.3.
Okay, but did
It's in our
you?
bylaws online.
Did you request that? No, okay. Because I do find that, you know, it seems like there's never a reply all whenever it's something that staff members agree with. It's normally whenever when I have private conversations with staff, or a staff member, that it might be something that they disagree with what I'm saying, and then it's a reply all. So I do have a problem with that. It's selective reply all. It's not consistent reply all to all the board members.
I can work on that.
How about that? What else you got?
Is this wrap up?
No, we're still in
Okay.
discussion.
Okay,
That's it?
that's it.
Okay. What about school board member matters? Laura?
Normally this time of night, I always forget to thank and acknowledge everyone that I've met with and talked to over the last 2 weeks, but, you know, a couple of events that I attended that were wonderful events, and I appreciate the invitation from Mrs. Murray from Treasure Coast Elementary. Her garden club had a spectacular dinner for us. We had salsa and salad and soup, and she gave me a tour, and it was great to see the hands-on and what they're doing over there with the garden club. It really inspired me. I went home and told my husband he's going to build me for Mother's Day a garden box, and that's what I want the kids to get me for Mother's Day. So I really do appreciate that. That was a wonderful experience as a board member to actually see that. Another event that I attended, and this was my third time, and if you have not attended this is just I know Dr. Rendell has, the Glendale Gator Express. So what we do, or what Mr. Faust does and the SAC and the PTA, is they load up a school bus with books. And the first two that I attended, we had half a bus, and we had volunteers that filled half a bus. But on Saturday, we had so many volunteers, parents and students from the school, that Mr. Faust actually had to call a second bus because we had probably 50 volunteers that came out for this event. So what we do is we go around to the areas that we feel that students might not have access to books, and we hire an ice cream truck to follow behind us. So what happens is the loud music is playing, and all the kids hear the ice cream truck, so they come out running, and they'll run up to the ice cream truck, but we always tell them, before you can get your ice cream, you have to go through the bus, and you have to get a bag of books. So it's really just a great event. The kids are excited, the parents are excited, but what this does, a lot of times the parents do not have means to have transportation to the school, so this gives the opportunity for our administrators at the school, Mr. Faust, and the teachers who participate to actually meet, maybe for the first time, the parents of our students, and it's just a really good community event that Glendale puts on. So I just encourage next time maybe one of you could attend that.
Where do you get the books?
They're donated. So, and the ice cream truck is, they donate their time with the ice cream truck, and it's very minimum what they charge for the ice cream. They were, before, a couple of years ago, what they were doing was putting the ice creams inside coolers, and by the time they got through, it was melted. So it's really a great partnership that the school has found.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you get the salsa recipe at the garden feast? Brought the salsa home. It was delicious. My husband wants the recipe. Did you get the recipe?
It's available.
Well,
no, she told me no. I'm wondering if you went. If
well,
you got.
I did get Mrs. Murray's phone number if I ever want more. So
That's a good deal too. I like that deal. I haven't had a lot of time to cook, so it's a good deal.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. You sure that's all?
We have a busy agenda over the next couple of weeks with graduation, so.
Okay, Sean?
Oh, thank you. Just a couple quick things. The audit committee met May 1st, and I'm a little proud to say my nominee, Bob Auwaerter, Councilman Bob Auwaerter, is the chair, was elected chairman. And I just wanted to thank not only him, but everyone on that committee who's volunteering their time and doing good work for the district. The only other thing I have is I'm very appreciative to first-year teacher at Sebastian River High School, Eric Boscovich. He teaches culinary arts there. He replaced Rick Apple, for those of you who know Sebastian River High School. And Garrett Rue, who teaches automotive up there. They had a car show. Sometimes this job is tough, and sometimes you get to go to car shows. But in the process, all the students were there, and we had great conversations about what exciting things happening at Sebastian River High School in career and technical education, different things, Dr. Arnett's is working on, and it's always good to get a ground level view of what's happening, both from the teachers and the students. And I just wanted to thank them for being so patient with all my questions, and to tell them that they're doing a fantastic job there. And with that, I yield, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ms. Simchak?
First of all, thank you to the other board members we all took a space with all the schools. It's a very exciting time because when you go to the elementary graduations, it's so exciting to see the fifth graders. The girls are wearing little makeup and heels, and the boys are all proud in their ties, and it's just very exciting to see them mature, or, you know, the excitement. And then there's a different feeling with the middle schools, you know, excited but nervous about going on to high school, and then it's very exciting to see, especially kids in the community that you saw grow up, just as going forward and being our future, and the excitement in their eyes. So a lot of ceremonies coming forward, and thanks to all the board members, we'll get through that. I also wanted to thank the community members for the scholarships. There are so many scholarships that are, you know, and I don't want to start naming like the Veterans Affairs, and as I said, if I start naming, but there's so many scholarships. There's so many scholarships too from, I'm going to get a little sad on this, but from parents who have lost their children, who have created scholarships in the name of their child. And thank you for their loss. They've created something promising for our future. And for those parents who are parents of those that will not walk during this graduation time, my prayers and thoughts are with you as family members. I do want to give a shout out to the Sebastian High School varsity team. They made it to runner-up in the districts. First time they made it that high since 2005. So that's very exciting for them. They are in baseball, I'm sorry. And they are at New Smyrna tonight. As a runner-up, they play a district champion, and then the district champion, which was Vieira, very hard to beat, they've grown big up there. They go on to play a runner-up from another district. We got New Smyrna. They're playing tonight, but if they win, it's funny. You know, they can keep going on. So I don't have my phone up here, so I don't know. But it's just a great compliment to that coaching staff, and for the Sebastian High School, that's something exciting that they brought home a trophy. And I only say that because I'm familiar with the baseball team. So, but I will say that I am proud of all of our athletes, our student scholar athletes. That represent us, and it keeps the kids off the street as well as music. And so I just like to promote our sports. As I said, it's a very busy weekend, you know, couple of weeks coming up, but I do want to say to all that pertain, Happy Mother's Day.
And your son is on that baseball team too, right?
Yeah, he's injured. He's in a place to watch, but but I'm so proud of the team. I'm so proud of the team and the coach. So. Coaching staff, and just it's very nice for the school. It would have been nicer if they got to have Vieira, but man, those kids are, you know, actually there was an MLB scout out for one of the Vieira kids. He is a moose, and they are very, very, very well, you know, just it's like that sometimes. But so they did very well. They represented well. They beat Melbourne, and that was the best. Sorry, Dr. Rendell.
I'm good with that.
You're okay with that? All right. They beat the Bulldogs.
Ms. Justice.
Yes, sir. So April and May, they're no joke in this school district. There's a lot going on. So we get invited to a lot of stuff. I try to make as much as possible, including some committee meetings. I attended an African American Achievement Plan committee meeting, and that's a great meeting where we have a lot of really involved community members speaking with staff and trading ideas. And so I'm really hopeful that we're continuing to work to close that achievement gap. And we kind of addressed that today in our strategic plan as being something that we want to see a focus across every area. And then I got to attend the juried student art exhibition at the 36th Annual Children's Art Festival at Vero Beach Museum of Art. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Vero Beach Museum for being an awesome community partner in so many different ways. And I would like to say I was blown away by the student art. It was awesome. Middle schools and high schools, the talent is amazing. Charter, traditional, everybody was there together. I really loved that. The art teachers were there, and we got to celebrate with them. So that was great. There was also a Congressional Art Award ceremony, and all of the schools have the opportunity, high schools have an opportunity to submit entries, but the charter high school was the only one in Indian River County that submitted entries. And again, I was blown away by the quality of the art. The talent in some of our students is amazing. So kudos to Indian River Charter High School for submitting entries. I challenged Sebastian River High School and Vero Beach High School to also participate in this great event. A young lady from Brevard won a scholarship, a partial scholarship to the Savannah College of Art and Design, and that was pretty cool. It's a great school, and it's kind of an expensive school, so a partial scholarship really makes a difference, and hopefully, you know, she'll be able to use that. And I think she actually also gets flown up to Washington, D.C., and her artwork is hung in Washington, D.C., so pretty cool. I attended with Mr. Searcy and with Mrs. Ork. We got to go to the baccalaureate ceremony at St. Peter's. I had never been to that before. It was awesome. I was so inspired, and I had a baccalaureate when I graduated, and I would just say, you know, if you're a local church and you want to celebrate your graduates in that way, it was really beautiful. Dr. Rendell had to speak after the preacher, and I looked at him after the preacher was, I think it was Pastor Robin, I think it was Robertson, and I looked at Dr. Rendell, I said, I'm sorry, Robinson.
Yes.
And I looked at Dr. Rendell, I said, you have to go after this? Is this you're up next? Because he was but he did a great job and represented us well. So that was great. I attended Take Stock in Children down at Indian River State College, and I would say thank you to all of the different donors that give scholarships for students this promise. So we had students from Indian River County, middle school students, who, if they keep their grades up and they stay on the right track, get a scholarship to college. It is a promise to an education, and it is amazing. So Jerry Leanne, who's spoken, there were numerous students, but she has spoken in front of us, so everyone knows who she is. She does that peer mentoring program at Gifford Middle School, received the promise of a college education. And her family was there, and that's just fantastic. So I was very happy to be there, and we have some community partners. John's Island Service League gives scholarships to their donors. So it's a great partnership. We had a Career and Technical Education Steering Committee meeting. Again, we had different community stakeholders. So again, we keep bringing the community in, and people are getting really excited about what we're doing with career and technical education and the things that we're going to be doing with hopefully a college in 1819. So the community is ready for it, and they are ready to support us. And I thank Dr. Arnett for being a steadfast leader in that and helping to pull all these different people together who have different perspectives. Instructional Coach, Institute for Coaching Excellence. I always like to celebrate our teachers. We were able to do that. And then I also went to the Richardson Center and got to be part of the trio. I have it here, Upward Bound. Yeah. So their graduation ceremony, and that again was awesome. And so I did some research about TRIO. If anyone isn't familiar with it, it's providing an educational opportunity for all Americans regardless of race, ethnic background, or economic circumstance. That Congress established a series of programs to help low-income Americans enter college. And again, you know, we're so lucky to have a state college here, and we're so lucky to have our students have the ability to attend that college and stay here locally so that they can, you know, afford to go to school. And again, scholarships. So just lots of great stuff celebrating our students, and that is really what it's all about. And I'm thankful to be a part of this school district. That is it. Sorry.
Good. Very good. The information agenda is attached there, and now the superintendent's closing.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Good one tonight. Okay. Declare this meeting adjourned.